Wake up, babes! The heroine chic is back. And how is all of this a sign of the recession and a sign of the rise of conservatism? Let's get into it. Warning, listening to us
might radicalize you.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Unholy Feminists with yours truly, Kath and Gail. Hi Gail.
Hi, Kat. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm so tired. Oh my God. My whole body hurts. My head hurts because I struggled to sleep last night. So I think I only caught a few hours of sleep. So yeah, I'm just happy it's Friday. At least I have
Yeah.
the weekend to. Oh, I'm going apartment hunting. So I'm not resting this weekend either.
Oh, you're moving?
Yeah, I am. So there's mold in my house.
Oh my god.
And yeah, now I can't for I think for the past week I've not been able to sit in my living room. My couch is ruined. And when I try to stay in the living room, even for 5 minutes, I'll be sneezing. I have a runny nose and then I suddenly get like this headache. So yeah, I need to move out. I can't deal with it.
Oh my god. Yeah, mold problem is so bad. It's really
Oh,
bad for your health.
I am so tired because I only moved into this place about 7 months ago,
Yeah.
and now I need to pack up and move again. Oh.
Yeah, I remember. Well, I hope you have at least a few people to help you move because moving is such a pain.
Right, it's so hectic. I'm going to use my little sister, so yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine moving at this stage because I have probably about 800, 900 books at this point. And oh my God, we probably just would need a whole truck just for my books. So that would
Yeah.
not be fun. All right, so wait, hang on. Before we get into it, don't forget to turn off your fan.
Yeah, no, my fan is off, my AC is on, don't worry.
Perfect. We want the most crisp sound as possible as we're talking about this phenomenon that is happening in Hollywood right now. So, heroin chic, a little backstory on that. So, I grew up in the 90s and the 2000s, and at the time, I was also consuming pop culture, Hollywood pop culture as well. And I remember heroin chic was everywhere. You know, you have people like Britney Spears, people like Paris Hilton, and who was her friend, Nicole Richie. They were all skinny, and yet people, the media, the paparazzi kept saying, "Oh, Britney Spears is so fat." Nicole Richie is so fat, and then there was also like The Biggest Loser, the show about losing weight. You can see people like Keira Knightley, they were skinny, to the point where they dubbed this heroin chic because they were so thin to the point where they looked like they were using heroin, right? And at the time, we also had shows like America's Next Top Model, where I'm not sure if you watched it, Gail, but I grew up watching it almost religiously at some point, but I was really watching it regularly. And I remember some of the contestants, they were normal size, like normal, quote unquote, if there's such thing as a normal. They looked like they looked fine, but Tara Banks would say things like, "Oh, you're such a plus size model," when they were not plus size models at all. So
Yeah,
they
yeah.
were average size. Let's call it that rather than normal size. And it created this whole generation of young girls with eating disorders, with body image problems. So, Gail, do you remember anything from this era?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't religiously watch America's Next Top Model, but I did watch some parts of it. It was like a horror movie, basically. Because just imagine being a teen or being like a preteen and having some weight and then watching these kinds of things, it can be so jarring because you see someone who, when you look in the mirror, you are probably bigger than, and Tyra is telling this person that they are plus size. So you wonder, oh, where do I actually fall on the scale? Because
Yeah.
I was legit seeing people who were like size 8 being called plus size, which is, I'm like, why? How? But yeah, definitely. I think it was a terrible era. It was an era that championed, should I say, eating disorders, because obviously if people are being praised for being thin, for looking like the wind could blow them away if it's strong enough, then teenagers and people at large will also try to aspire to these like beauty standards. It's also why we keep saying that beauty standards are so flimsy, because it's always what's trending. Because just a couple of years back, it was what, being thick, so everyone was getting BBLs
BBLs,
to
yeah.
look like, exactly, to look like, and now suddenly everyone is going back to looking heroin chic. You cannot keep up with these trends, genuinely.
Did it affect you somewhat, the whole heroin chic era?
No, not really, because I didn't. I was kidding as fuck growing up, so I don't think, I also didn't watch enough of those things as much to internalize it. So I was like a major bookworm when I was young. Like, you would always find me with my head in a novel or in a storybook. I barely, so a lot of times, even now, when my friends are talking about shows they used to watch when we were younger, I can't relate because I didn't really used to watch TV. I think even till date, I'm not necessarily a big fan of shows and like anything on the TV. Um, Unless I find like a movie or a series that has like a very interesting storyline, I would rather read a book. So yeah.
I understand. I really like reality shows. I still watch reality
Mm,
shows. I like watching 90 Day Fiancé for the chaos
mm,
of it and to honestly make fun of those people. But for me, growing up in the whole heroin chic era, I was also thin as well. I have been thin my entire life, but because of
mm,
the beauty standard of what thinness was, and I grew up in Southeast Asia where naturally a lot of people are thinner, right? Compared to
yeah.
people like, for example, in the United States. Because of that, the standard here is even more strict in a way, because I talked about this before, but I remember when I was about 17, 18, I started using birth control pills and I gained about 4 or 5 kilograms. So I went from 45 to
Mm,
50 kilograms. And my colleagues started saying that I was fat, right? Saying that, oh, your face is so round now, or oh, you need to eat less. So things like that. It I guess when you're in your in your transformative years and you are being
mm-hmm.
told that you look too big, even though you don't, it kind of creates this idea of this fear that, oh, what if I am too big, what if they're right, what if I'm not
Mm,
pretty. You seek the validation because you're so young, because you want to fit in, right? And it takes a lot of
yeah.
years to unlearn that, especially when you see it in the media all the time, and all you see in the media are skinny people, are thin, like really, really thin people. So
Mm-hmm.
bringing it back to right now, wait, let's go back a decade, like last decade. So after we had the heroin chic era in the 2010s and in the early 2020s, we went the other way, which began the body positivity movement, right? So it's a reaction to the heroin chic era where people started talking about inclusivity, talking about diversity, talking about
Yeah.
body
Yeah.
positivity, uplifting each other, speaking up against the thinness culture, speaking up against eating disorders. And we had people like Lizzo talking about empowerment, having the female empowerment and body positivity songs. It was all the rage everywhere. You see people celebrating plus size models. For example, Victoria's Secret started incorporating plus size models, their version of plus size models, in their show. So it became this whole thing as a reaction to a heroine chic era. And then we hit the 2020s right now, where we're starting to see a shift, where we see the rise in thin culture in Hollywood again. So we saw how Christina Aguilera, for example, she was thick, she was voluptuous in the 2010s. And then now, if you look up her pictures, you can see that she's tiny again. And then we see a lot of people who are really, really thin. Like Meghan Trainor, for example, she blew up
Yeah.
because of the song All About That Bass, right? About
Yeah.
celebrating body positivity. And now she's tiny. So the pendulum has swung back. What are your thoughts on this? Have you noticed that, especially with celebrities using Ozempic so much now?
I have. It's literally all everyone seems to be doing now. And now it's even gone beyond just celebrities. Like, we see normal influencers, we see like everyday people. And I think for me, it's even more jarring because I always say culture also plays a role in beauty standards, right? So, in Africa, looking, thick and all that, having some fat on you is like acceptable beauty standards in like a lot of homes because they just celebrate thicker women. But now with the rise of, the re-rise of heroin chic, I'm seeing a lot more African women even getting on Ozempic. There are people in the gyms not for the sake of getting healthy, but because they need to lose the fat. They need to lose the fat. I'm seeing a lot of influencers and celebrities who championed the body positivity era now being thin. And for some of them, you see some of their fans and followers who follow them because they felt like, oh, we are the same size. So I feel seen that, even though I'm fat shamed, even though I'm body shamed in real life, even though people are always fat phobic towards me in real life, I'm still able to see this person on social media. I'm still able to see this person on my screen and feel some sort of semblance or acceptance because this person embodies this much. We are seeing all these people also getting on, I don't know whether they are using Ozempic or like whatever, and their fans, some of the fans are so angry because this is not why we support you. We thought you would stay true to yourself. So I'm definitely seeing that shift, and it's very jarring because, like, honestly, some of these people, for example, Megan Trainor, as an African, I did not see her as a plus size woman, even in the 2010s. She looks like a size 14 in Ghana, which is totally okay to be if you're a woman in Ghana. So again, cultural backgrounds is also playing like a very big role because I know there are women in Ghana right now who are probably size 18, size 20, and they are still not going to, even though they are seeing the rise in heroin chic, they are still not going to feed into it because they are basically worshipped for their size. They are worshipped for, like, their boobs and how their body just curves into like these roles and all that. So yeah, I don't think anyone can ignore the rise of Ozempic at the moment.
Do you think that it will have an impact in the countries in Africa, including Ghana, with more and more noise around thin culture, around Ozempic? Do you think? Because you're saying that right now, the beauty standard is that in the beauty standard in Africa is that they tend to favor voluptuous women, women with curves, right? But of course, you can't ignore the noise that's happening on social media. Do you think that that narrative will shift?
I mean, definitely among some people. I think one thing that is constant in Ghana is, even with the changing trends and everything, thick is always in vogue when you're African. Thick is always in vogue when you're African. So a lot of times, I feel like the people it tends to affect the most are the younger generation, the people who are very impressionable, the people who are now, learning about their bodies. They're the ones it might largely affect. That's not to say if you're an adult, it might not affect you, because there are still people in Ghana right now who are getting on Ozempic. There are people I knew who used to be big, but they've taken things so that they are now slim. Just that I'm saying, on a wider consensus, thick is always in vogue. It's always in vogue. Even though, like, a lot of people are so, fat shamed and all that, culturally they see um take people as, like, healthy, and people who are taking care of themselves, basically.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for Cambodia. I have seen,
I mean, Asia is wild when it comes to weight, so I get that.
yeah. Yeah, beauty standards in Asia are crazy. In Cambodia, I have noticed a recent spike in people asking, women asking about Ozempic, actually asking about taking diabetic injections, insulin to lose weight, which is crazy because I'd never seen people asking this before, but recently I have. So, a little backstory. Bingley, one of my dogs, has diabetes. He was diagnosed with diabetes a couple of months ago. And since then, he has been on insulin and he has lost a lot of weight. He's lost like 40% of his body weight. He used to weigh 8 kilograms
Aww.
and now he weighs 5 kilograms. He was a little overweight before. So he's skinny now. And I remember bringing him to the vet, and people at the vet, they were marveling at him. They were looking at him in amazement. And then they were like, oh my God, that's what diabetes can do to you. You can lose weight. But they said it in a way that was almost admiring him, like, oh my God.
Yes.
So, interesting. And then my vet, she also talked about how when she went to Malaysia for a health checkup, she noticed that a lot more people were there to get Ozempic, to get insulin, to get all those kind of stuff in order to lose weight. A lot more women from Cambodia. And also there are people getting liposuction as well. I have noticed that some of the women in these Facebook groups, they were like, I want to lose weight, but I don't want to go on a diet and I don't want to exercise. How can I lose weight? So they were asking questions like that. And I'm not advocating for exercise as a way to lose weight. I always say that you go to exercise, you go to the gym for your body, for your health, not to lose weight. Your health should be your priority. Looking in shape is secondary. It should always be your health first and foremost. But they were asking about that. And yeah, so I have noticed that there is a rise of people using Ozempic here in Cambodia. And it's crazy because I didn't think that we would go to that level, but that's apparently the effect of globalization and social media.
Yeah, it's affecting everyone. Cause, yeah, again, in as much as I'm saying it, being thick is always in vogue, people are also using Ozempic in Ghana. It's
Yeah. I want to touch on a sensitive topic a little bit about this thin culture, heroine chic. I would say one of the most prominent and talked about celebrities right now that is embodying this whole thing is Ariana Grande. So I have been getting a lot of content about Ariana Grande, especially if you've seen
yeah,
her new music video, Pedal. She is alarmingly thin. And it's such an intricate issue because it's we can make a whole episode on Ariana Grande and her whole Tumblr era when she was running an ED Tumblr. It's a whole thing. And I know that people keep talking about how, oh, you don't talk about a woman's body. We shouldn't talk about a woman's body anymore. But it's not about just discussing a woman's body. It's about showing concern. And it's about showing concern about how it's affecting young girls, right? Because young girls might look up to Ariana Grande
Exactly.
and they're like, oh, I want to be that then too because she's beautiful, because she's talented, she's rich, and I want to be like her. So it's a whole thing, the discussion. Have you been hearing any of that?
Yeah. I have. I've seen a lot of posts. I've seen a lot of think pieces. I've I actually came across a whole thread on Twitter where the person was talking about how the signs Ariana is exhibiting is very similar to one of her friends who had an
Mm-hmm.
ED, and the person ended up unaliving herself, and this is just
Mm,
how it started. So they feel like where she is right now is not even a cry for help. She has already
mm-hmm.
made her decision about where her life is going because she can't fight what she's dealing with. And I've I've seen a whole lot more of think pieces, and I've seen also the other side, like you said, where people are saying that we should not speak on someone's body because the more we are speaking about it, the more we are adding onto like the person's mental health. In this case, Ariana's mental health, because
Mm-hmm.
if she truly is already dealing with a mental disorder, then piling up on her is just adding up. I do agree with that, but we also cannot ignore the fact that she is a global personality. She's a
Yeah.
celebrity who has audiences, some who are very impressionable. And considering ED is something that I don't even think it's something that's necessarily curable, but like it's very easy to pick up when you are a young person because you
Mm-hmm.
are seeing all these people that you idolize, and then they are, moving from one way to the other so drastically, and then it just keeps getting worse. It's very easy to impress this kind of thing on young people. This is also not to say that we are I do not know about her Tumblr era. I don't actually know whether she has an eating disorder. Everything I'm saying is based on, speculations and what people have to say. But I think we are allowed to talk about it in a very like educative way, and in a
Mm-hmm.
way that steers away the young and even adults who are impressionable from something like eating disorder and the effects it can have on you in the short term and long term as well. I think we should talk about it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if it was just any other person, I don't think that
Mm-hmm.
speculating a person's body is the right way to go, especially since eating disorder is a very, very intricate and complicated mental disorder, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes talking about it can fuel them because they can be like, oh, I'm actually thin enough for people to be discussing this. So it adds to the
Mm.
fire. But I do think that Ariana Grande's case is complex because she is a global superstar who has millions and millions and millions of fans. And I think at this point, a lot of people are not talking to her anymore and more talking to her fans who might find
Yeah.
this to be something desirable. But this episode is not about Ariana Grande. I want to pivot a little bit to another discussion point where people are saying that all of this heroin chic, all of this, the rise of thinness culture and Ozempic is a sign of one, the recession, and two, conservatism. Have you heard anything about this?
Yeah, I feel like we've actually had we have an episode where we talk about eating
Mm-hmm. We did.
as a form of resistance. Yeah, we spoke a little bit about this. I think when you look at past decades and all that, it's very obvious that a lot of times the beauty standards conform with the economic situation, the global economic situation.
Mm-hmm.
So when I have seen a couple of video essays on this topic. I've seen a couple of think pieces on this topic. And it makes sense because when you take this is not also to say that the only reason for heroin chic coming back into vogue is, um economic recession. That's not to say it is the only reason, because beauty standards are influenced by lots of things like, media representation and so much more, even changes in like culture and the things people believe in. However, it just seems like, when things are hard to get, people just resort to, like, glorifying smaller quantities of things. So now people are eating smaller, people are eating in beds, people are buying food in smaller portions and things like that. And it just goes back to, like, thinner bodies, because obviously the less you are eating, the more weight you are losing. However, people also don't want us to think of it as, maybe you can't afford this, or maybe this and that. It's just going back to, oh, this is just how I want my body to look like. This is just how I want my body to look like. And I feel like bringing it back to Ghana, a lot of times when they see people who are thick, they just assume, oh, you have a lot of food in your house. That's why you are thick. That's why you have weight on you. And when they see someone who is thin, they go, oh, you don't eat enough. You just don't eat enough. For us, there's barely any medical condition attached to weight gain or weight loss. It's either you don't have food to eat, that's why you are thin, or you have too much food to eat, that's why you have weight. So I think, for my context, I can definitely say that, people who are thin are just seen as people who can't afford to eat. And obviously that's recession, because if you don't have enough to eat, it goes to say and show that you probably also cannot afford it financially. That's why you're not eating, because I don't think we don't think of it as people willingly choose to go hungry. We just think of it as, if you're not eating, it's because you don't have food, basically.
So I have a theory on that, and it's multi layers actually. So one, you were talking about the media, and I do agree that beauty standards are set by the media, but we have to look at who controls the media. It's the billionaires. It's the government. I wouldn't say the government. Okay, it's the billionaires, and it's those in position of power who are controlling the media. But yeah, sometimes the government also controls the media. But when I was talking about the rise of conservatism, it is linked to our previous episode on how eating is a form of resistance, because you want women to be as thin as possible so that we would be starving all the time, and we can't resist because we're always thinking, oh my God, I don't want to eat. I am afraid of being too big, so I have to starve myself. And when you're starving yourself, you don't have the energy. You're constantly just thinking about your diet. So you don't have time to form a collective movement. You don't have time to form a resistance group. You don't have time for any of that, because all you think about is food. But also, I think the other layer to that is that the beauty standard is always something that is unattainable by the mass, right? It's always something that is privileged to only a few people. And what is more privileged than being able to eat healthy food that doesn't put on weight? Because food like burgers and pizza and fast food and all of that, in many countries, they tend to be cheaper. For example, in the US, if you go to McDonald's, it's cheaper than, for example, if you buy organic food. That tends to be healthier. So for people who can afford it, they can go buy organic food. They can have all their expensive salad, for example, which causes them to not gain more weight. Whereas people who are busy all the time, for example, if you work a graveyard shift, if you work like 3 shifts a day, you don't have time to cook. You're just gonna have to go to a fast food. You're gonna have to make something convenient, and then exactly. So they tend to put on more weight because of that. And eating healthy food is more unattainable in this economy because it's more expensive. Not only that, when you are thinner, it also means that you have time to go to the gym. It also means that you have money to spend on the gym. Whereas everyday people who are struggling in this economy, we would have to budget for other stuff like food, like rent, and we don't have enough disposable income to put into things like the gym, right? Or we don't even have time to go to the gym. And because of that, it creates
Yeah.
this unattainable standard where people who are thin tend to be looked at as people who are richer, as more desirable because they have time to work on themselves, to do all of these things that make them lose weight, or even accessing Ozempic, right? If you worry about food or rent,
Yeah.
you're not going to have money to pay for Ozempic, or it's not going to be on your priority list, right? So that's another layer to it. And I also think that it's a sign of recession because people try to attain that because the privileged class is getting that, they're setting that as a beauty standard. And what
Yeah.
happens when you are worried about fitting in, worried about not losing your job? You want to conform as much as possible. You want to fit in. You don't want to stand out, because if you stand out, then you might lose your job, then you might lose opportunities. So you want to look like other people as much as possible to keep your job, to keep your employment, to keep on making a living. So the worse the economy is, the more that people want to conform and the more people don't want to stand out, because standing out means that you might get picked on and you might get fired or anything like that. So people tend to want to conform and fit in the beauty standard more. What do you
Yeah.
think of all of
Yeah.
that?
I totally agree with you. That also definitely gave me a new perspective because, yeah, um, eating healthy is expensive as fuck.
It is.
coming from, yeah, coming from someone who goes to the gym. So I'm not very strict on dieting, even though I go to the gym. I could maybe for 2 days I would eat healthy. I would eat a lot of fibers and proteins and and a lot of vegetables. And I don't know, the next day I will probably just eat anything. I'm not so strict because eating healthy is is
It
expensive.
is.
It's not something everyone can afford. So I get why that can also be a thing that is sort of monopolized by the bourgeoisie and the people at the top. I definitely see that. I also agree with you know the normal person trying to fit into these standards because maybe their celebrity crush or celebrity icon or whatever is doing it. Because look at, let's take BBL for instance. When the Kardashians sort of champion the rise of BBL, suddenly every other, girl who wanted to be a bad bitch, who wanted to be cool enough, who liked him enough, wanted to get a BBL. And the moment BBL started becoming extremely attainable, the moment it started becoming very mainstream, I think a couple of years ago, the Kardashians took their BBLs out. That is what the rich do. When they make something trendy, after it becomes trendy and they feel like, yeah, everyone is doing it, suddenly they do not want to be like everyone. So they want
Yeah.
something different. So yeah, I definitely agree with you on all the points you made.
So, last point, what can we do about this?
Eat. I know it sounds so simple and it might be watered down, but genuinely, I think we people really need to eat. So if you've not watched our episode on eating as a resistance, I definitely think I'm going to plug it when we are posting this video at the end of that video so that everyone who watches this can also watch that. I feel like we have a lot of talking points in there that can be like a summary of this episode on what can be done. Yeah.
um yeah, definitely circle back to our episode on eating as a form of resistance. Eat, put treat your body well, Get as much protein as you can as something that makes you
Mm-hmm.
healthy. Eat
Mm.
healthy if you can. I understand that it can be a privilege to eat healthy, but don't starve your body, because
No.
if you are starving, if you're too hungry, then you don't have the energy to fight the patriarchy. You don't have the energy
Yeah.
to start a revolution. You don't have the energy to topple the government. Just kidding. But also not kidding. You don't have the energy to fight capitalism,
Hi,
the Epstein
please. I don't
class.
want you in jail.
Yeah, me neither. So, um, do whatever feels good for you. I'm not telling you to do anything, but yeah, I would just say that eat and treat your body well. I understand that there's a lot of noise going on right now in the media, everywhere,
Mm.
talking about how, oh, you should be thin, you should use Ozempic, but try to block out the noise if you can.
Yeah.
Fill your time with body positive content creators or books or all of that. Talk to people in your life who are body positive. I understand that it is so, so difficult, especially when you're young, but your body is a tool, right? It's not the sum of who you are. Your body is a tool
Mm.
where it allows you to do things, to enjoy life, to work, to create art, to be a human. Don't treat it like it's something, don't treat it like it's your enemy. You would, if you don't say bad things to your best friends, why would you say all those things to your body? Why would you treat your body like that? You should treat your body like your best friend, like something that you love, rather than treating your body like an
Yeah.
enemy.
Yeah. I think you summed it up beautifully. I don't have any more words to add.
Well, then this is quite a short episode. I am very curious to hear what everyone else thinks about this episode, and
Mm.
especially if you. Oh, I forgot. I will put this in the beginning, but this episode is gonna have some triggers, which includes eating disorders and talks of mental health. So if these are the things that might trigger you, you can skip this episode, go to our archive, and look for other episodes that you can enjoy. So yeah, I'm gonna take this back
Yeah.
to the top. But yeah, I am curious to see what other people think about this episode. Share your stories if you feel comfortable. Share tips that, for example, if you've ever experienced anything like that and you have recovered, you have overcome it, share your tips down below in the comment section, and share this video with your friends, with especially your best friends and everyone in your community. Just share this video in general, because we do need to combat thin culture, and we do need to combat this whole Ozempic culture. Any final
Yeah.
words, Gail?
Yeah, just eat everything Kat said. And I know sometimes it's really hard if you struggle with any form of body dysmorphia, or like, have any shame about how you look. I know it can be very hard to see yourself
Mm-hmm.
and feel like this is a body you should love. But this is all you've got.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, there's like nothing is going to change that. But the more you start loving it, the more happiness you find in your body
Mm-hmm.
parts, the more happiness you find in your body as a whole, the more you will see how helpful your body is to you as a person. Because without your body, what really are you? So you need to find ways to love yourself, to love your body, to surround yourself with people who uplift you, to surround yourself with people who help you see that your body is exactly as it should be, so that you don't fall into all these traps, all these rapidly changing trends that are always on social media. Because
Mm-hmm.
you cannot, it's like Kat said, it is unattainable. Because I don't know, probably five years from now or a decade from now, the trends would have changed again, and
Mm-hmm.
being heroin chic is going to be out of vogue. Are you always going to change with the trends? That's hectic as fuck. So yeah, Love yourself. I know it's not as easy as said, but at least try. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Perfectly said. All right, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into this
Yeah.
episode. Don't forget to follow us, like, and subscribe, all those great things. We really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
And also, we appreciate negative comments as well, because engagement is engagement. We will see
Yeah.
you in the next episode. Bye.
Episode. Yeah. Bye.